You know, we always use this platform to help people see what entrepreneurship can give, what it takes, and sometimes what entrepreneurship looks like. So entrepreneurship being outside in every environment, entrepreneurship is, you know, inside an organization. Do you remember the first thing you tried to build?
First thing I tried to build in my, if I go all the way back to a small boy running around the town of Lubatse, I tried to build a spaza shop, and I co-opted my sister, who must have been like 6 years old, and the neighbor's kids, and we got digging, but the digging got too difficult. So you realize upfront, setting up a business requires a lot of resilience. And yeah, that was something. But it's always been a passion, I think. It's interesting sitting on the side of a business where we're supporting small businesses, and just getting that view into what it is people go through, trying to create value out there. But yeah, as a in the product space, working the product space is a great opportunity to build in a manner, so to speak.
So when do you go from trying to build a spaza? You mentioned to me earlier, just like selling chickens.
Yes.
What does that journey look like from being an entrepreneur in that sense, trying things, testing things, learning from them, and then going to becoming a builder of products instead of just selling products in a physical and traditional sense?
The journey, I've found that a lot of the learning and the growing in entrepreneurship, it comes a lot by impartation and being in environments where you're seeing it modeled. My dad always had an idea going. We lost count of the number of businesses he conceptualized, pitched, set up, so at some point you sort of have that kind of worldview, and you see gaps and you see opportunities, and you're excited by the prospect of bringing things that are new or different. I worked for a long time in corporate. At a certain point, I was a bit got into a role where I felt a bit typecast. So after about 10 years of working, I quit and went to study further. But while I was studying further, getting additional qualifications in insurance, I ran a bulk water delivery business. I learned that what a business is in reality is different from what it might appear up front. So what looked like selling water to people is actually much more a logistics business.
I feel like every business is a logistics
It's
business.
a logistics business. Yeah.
All businesses are logistics businesses.
Yeah.
If you can figure out how to move things.
If you can figure out how to move things, and keep them moving. And then, at the same time was doing broiler chickens. I set up sort of like a 500 chickens thing going on. And that was great. I love that. I'd love to go back and do that in some shape or form at some time. Trying to find people to take off your chickens at 6 weeks, and you're realizing, feeding them beyond this point is going to be problematic. So came back into corporate and eventually found my way to product, which was really exciting because then you get to explore ideas and help people. It took a lot of those learnings.
Yeah. So this is when you joined Santam and sort of the product team there.
Correct. Yeah. I had been in Santam. This was probably my 6th role in Santam.
Oh, that's
so
crazy.
If you speak of entrepreneurship and figuring out what roles you can play in different spaces, that's been my journey.
I always think that people underestimate the influence and power of entrepreneurship when you are inside a corporate environment, but are allowed to innovate and think about products that the business sort of changes the way the business thinks about a specific problem they need to solve.
Yes.
what's your experience of entrepreneurship? But also, please tell me your title.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the formal title. I introduced myself as head of product, but it is head of product strategy, development, and governance. Yeah. Which
So
is,
proper corporate.
I suppose it's a long way of saying, Leroy, you hold this thing from end to end, and we're going to make sure you remember that. But entrepreneurship is within a corporate space is exciting in the sense that what you're doing is you're becoming eyes and ears for the business, and there's a lot of from a stakeholder management point of view, there's a lot of convincing and bringing people into a different perspective from sort of legacy thinking. What about this market? What about that channel? What about, innovating in this and that way? And that's a whole job on its own. But it's a great experience, I think, as far as learning people skills. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you guys are constantly trying to learn about the customers that you serve, the small businesses, how they operate, the things they're thinking about, and maybe some of the things that are blind spots, What do you think are some of the risks that small businesses don't necessarily, focus on or see instinctively that you guys have been thinking about and understanding about how small businesses work?
Yeah. I think the sort of risks which lurk and aren't addressed, it stems from a natural orientation you have as a small business owner. I tell the team, a business owner doesn't wake up dreaming about, I really like to buy an insurance policy today. That's not top of mind. They're thinking about, how do I keep the lights on? How do I get working capital to pay my guys for another month? And in the drive to get that income stream and that cash flow going, the things which make for resilience are often forgotten. And it's one thing to run fast, but if you collide into something and break your leg and cannot keep running, the implications can be massive for you, for your family, for people who depend on you. Being able to get up and keep going is as important as generating the business. And so things like your liability risks. If you've got a product that you are supplying to local retailers, maybe it's a food stuff, or it's a cosmetic good, and you've mixed it up at home and someone gets sick, and there's all sorts of liability that can accrue on top of your head, and you weren't thinking about that because you're just thinking, let me get product out.
Yeah. Because people, small businesses are always thinking about, how do I grow? How do I sell more? Keep the lights on, keep going.
Yeah.
But I don't think we think about what it looks like to protect what you're trying to build.
Yes.
Right? And maybe the word insurance makes small businesses go, no. Whereas if you say, protect your business.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
How do you think about that?
Protect your business.
And what small businesses need to think about it in that way?
The way we frame it is, you need to be free to focus on the dream you're trying to build. And you can't be free if you are sort of handcuffed by, something that's happened, or, if you get knocked down, you need to be able to get up.
Yeah.
And you won't take risks if your ability to get back up is compromised. So, and that's really what insurance does. It allows people to take risks, calculated risks, not gambling, obviously. Otherwise, you won't be in business for long as a small business owner. But you need to be able to take risks. And what's the basis of that confidence? It can't just be, I'm skillful, or I have connections, or I've seen a gap. It has to be things like, if things go wrong, this is the plan B. This is the contingency plan. This is where I get the funds to replace the stock if the shop burns down. I know exactly where I'd go and how it would work. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, you understand small businesses from that perspective, and understanding how they can protect that business in order to take the right risks in the right way, but also be protected, right? What's the products that you guys started building out around this?
We developed a product called SmartSME. And a big thing around that was demystifying insurance. When we were doing our research, we found that small business owners are very hands-on. You know, you're front of shop, or you're getting something together for a client, and you are the chief purchaser, you're the marketing person, you're finance, you are HR, you're everywhere. And you expect to understand all of the contracts you engage in. You're not a big company with a whole department of accountants who are taking care of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's you who is talking to the supplier. It's you who. So the contracts you enter into need to be understandable, comprehensible. It must make sense intuitively. So the simplifying what insurance looks like was a big piece of that. And redefining the cover in a way which, you know, the idea is if you're standing in your shop and you do a 360, you would see your people, your property, your money, your vehicles, and things which represent legal risks. And we've just bucketed cover into those 5 groupings in a very intuitive way.
Yeah. And it's really about trying to help small businesses be able to navigate these very complex sort of structures in insurance that maybe bigger businesses have, but really demystifying what it looks like and making it feel like something someone would want to be able to use.
Yes.
What problem were you guys trying to solve for small businesses going into this, right? So if I'm a small business and, you know, whether it's, I mean, maybe we use the example of your business, right? You know, you've got these trucks delivering bulk water in whatever environment. You've got assets in the vehicles that you know using to do this. The people that are actually driving the trucks themselves, the actual product itself, which is water, and it being drank, is a risk on its own.
Yes.
How do you think about, you know, the problems that are being solved for those businesses, but also how small businesses need to think about smart SME?
So they can think of it as something in their toolkit. And to that point of being able to have this 360 view of your business, when you think about your people, you think about, you know, getting hurt on the job. And, you know, that can be something that maybe is self-evident because the job is, you know, you think of drivers and they're on the road. That's one thing. But it can happen just because you are in a business that, you know, hangs up curtains for people. And your guys are always on step ladders, and things go very bad very quickly. So it's that kind of awareness around what makes for my business, who are my people. You know, when we say property, we defined it in a very sort of in layman's terms. We didn't talk about fire cover and this and that. We just said, you know, it's your buildings, or if you're renting your contents, you know, and all of the PCs and laptops or tools. You could be a plumber with a bucky and tools. Yeah. You know, so but really being able to place everything in a bucket that just makes sense, and being able to go out there and bid for work confidently. So ease of understanding was key. The ability to transact digitally was key. So like an online, we have a web quote journey that, you know, you can go to Santam and get a quote for yourself without having to speak to anyone. And just hit a button and say, yes, I'd like to take that out. The affordability, times are tough. So it needs to make sense from a wallet point of view. And it needs to be sort of readily accessible, you know, not difficult to work with. You don't want surprises at the time that things happen, claim stage. You need to be able to draw a very clear line between this is the cover I took out and this is how it plays out in the event of a claim. So those are some of the things. Business owners also spoke to us around some of the concerns they have, and I mentioned things like waking up at night. Where am I going to find money?
Sure.
So we know sort of how they the weight they apply to things outside of core insurance. And wherever you go now, people are looking for a one-stop shop. You don't want to complicate your life by having 101, service providers if you can sort of consolidate things. So as part of the wider Sanlam group, we're tapping into those. And speaking of entrepreneurship and saying, hey, what have you got for me? I've got this product. I've got these small business owners. Can you and bring our small business clients into that ecosystem where they can access more than just the insurance piece.
I always think that the best products, especially for small business owners, are the ones that open up access that previously wasn't there,
right?
But also fundamentally help the business operate at a better level. When you guys were creating this product, who was the ideal customer? Who was the entrepreneur that you were thinking about and thinking, this is built for this one person?
Yes. Yeah. So to the point of how we define small, we looked around at other definitions of small and they just didn't seem real. You hear of like 50 million rand turnover based on some publication somewhere as a definition of small business, and we're saying is that really small? Is that is the guy who's just got a food truck that he takes to festivals, how is he supposed to understand that sort of definition of small? So we said, look, total assets of less than 5 million rand, and no more than 5 vehicles. So that, to the point, if you are a graphic designer, you've got some PC equipment, and it's just really your tech and your car and your phone. Here's a product where you're not sort of overwhelmed by 50 sorts of types of insurance around it. You can immediately say, okay, it fits nicely. It's speaking to me. It is still a fair range between someone who's just working from home and maybe now you have a shop somewhere. But we thought 5 million rand as an upper limit gave us a nice grouping in terms of defining what that person looks like. And then obviously, because we didn't want to create complexity, you don't want to call for insurance and be told we'll get back to you in 2 days. Because there's all sorts of, checks and underwriting analysis that needs to be done. It really needs to be a straight through, easy process. So there's roughly about 350 business types that we ring fenced and said, these are the business types, typical small businesses that we are focusing on because we know we can guarantee that straight through journey and that straight through process for them. We didn't want to seem to dangle a carrot and then you come into this log jam and traffic jam of corporate bureaucracy. So it must feel as nimble as the business you're trying to run.
Exactly. And like have the product understand your business too.
Yes.
Is a super important part. So what does the journey of using Smart SME look like for a small business owner?
You just go to the website and there you're guided through a series of questions which just get a sense of who you are, how big your business is, because not everyone necessarily is suited to having a kind of low advice journey. And based on your business type, you might feel you're small, but if you're manufacturing fireworks, there's a lot of things that have to be checked on those kinds of businesses. So then the journey would say, well, look, there's someone who's going to sort of hold your hand around a more fit for purpose comprehensive kind of product. But if you fit the bill, then it's a series of questions, and you don't have to have insurance knowledge to be able to answer those questions. It's just asking you, tell us about yourself, really. And then, we generate a quote. And I mean, from that point on, it's as simple as a call into Santam Direct for any additional help or guidance you might need. So there's both that digital and that direct call offer, and we do have advisors as well who are out there and provide a broker element for people who prefer to have an advisor.
Yeah. You know, the good thing I think about this is just the best products also allow you to, tinker with them in some ways for your specific case, right?
Yes.
Like, I think all businesses are their own individual, they have their own DNA, they work differently.
Exactly.
How much of Smart SME can I customize in order to fit my business? And can I pick and choose what to cover? And what the actual final insurance product looks like?
Absolutely. So it's not a single package that you just pay one amount and it's like take it all or leave it. It's absolutely flexible in the same manner as your larger commercial insurance kind of products that big corporates and businesses would buy. So you can specify, I want, out of these 5, I actually just want this one. And this is how much cover I want. So you can customize it to your needs. And you're not forced to take a bundle. That flexibility is something that was also spoken to in our focus group testing.
Yeah.
Don't just sell me everything. Allow me to work it.
Yeah. What are some of the stories that you've heard about, businesses that have used Smart SME, and just something that you thought was really, really interesting to you?
It's really been humbling in the sense that people who've bought into it haven't had any kind of friction or hiccups in the journey. And it's been great to see claims come out at the end, because the whole point of what an insurance company provides is a promise and an obligation to come through for you when things go wrong. And it's bizarre because, I mean, for us on our side, obviously for insurance company, claims represent money flowing out, if you think of it, but it's the money we would want to flow out because it means the product is working as intended. Last thing you ever want to have is a product and you see no claims coming through. Then something is seriously wrong. Something's seriously wrong. You should see people deriving value from it, and that's when the rubber hits the road.
Yeah,
it's being able to claim and not have issues at that point. Yeah.
So Smart SME also includes Business Assist. What is it? But also, how does it help entrepreneurs and small businesses to grow?
Yeah. So that Business Assist is a bundle of value-added services, which was conceptualized to help with the things other than the core insurance. Because to the point around, we now expect more from whoever it is we do business with. Your bank can sell you, a PlayStation, and your telco can sell you insurance as well. And it was important that we show up for our clients in the same way, and not just be like, the only thing you get from us is what is of relevance to our core business. And we're like, no. If you're going to be a big brother, you open doors and you build capacity and you enable others. And that's what it means to be, a big brother to small businesses. So Business Assist is comprised of services that you can get for just 40 Rand a month. You get access to a finance assist service. If you need advice around tax affairs, debt collections, help with actually collecting the debt at least once a year. Things like tender notifications for opportunities that you are keen to bid for. There's a marketing assist component where if you need help with setting up a splash page or a Facebook page or an email campaign, that we can get that done for you. If you need your logo refreshed, that is included up to a certain amount. There's a legal assist. So if you need help with drafting of legal documents, employee contracts, CCMA hearings for those sorts of disputes, you get that kind of support. There's a IT troubleshooting desk. If you don't know, because your PCs are blinking funny, call in and someone walks you through what the likely issue is. And then a concierge desk where you can get notifications for price drops in certain suppliers that you need as inputs into your business, or you need help with planning travel and getting someone to help with doing some bookings. And then more of the typical value adds that you would see in the personal insurance space. So access to a locksmith, access to a plumber, an electrician, a home drive convenience. You're planning an outing, business dinner, and you can actually call in and plan to have a designated driver bring you home, which so that you're free to go and celebrate your wins out in the marketplace.
It's incredible. Like Smart SME for me feels more like an ecosystem of resources, not just one.
Right.
You guys have thought about the things that can help businesses grow in the right ways, in the ways that really matter to their business. What's one thing that you would tell someone that doesn't have insurance for their business, is taking a lot of risk as businesses, on what it takes and what is best to protect their business, but also why Smart SME is the right product to help them do that?
Yeah. So, I know insurance and paying a premium is always something that it's not front of mind, but not to think of it when you think about your income and your expenses, to really understand what sits behind each of those things. And when you look at insurance, when you think about insurance, remembering that you're not really free to run, to take risks, to explore, if you're not resilient. Because it means when things go wrong, and things go wrong, it happens. It's part of life. Expect that something will go sideways at some point. Your attitude should be, how do I set myself up to get back on my feet and keep going? Because it's about endurance at the end of the day. It's the small business game, and being an entrepreneur is really about endurance. And we all need help. So I'd say, pick up the phone, call us 0860 444 444, or go to the santam.co.za website and look up small business insurance, and take it from there.
Sure, man. It's hard to say. Maybe someone else would be like, that's crazy that this insurance conversation was important. was exciting,
Right.
I think it's interesting to hear you speak about how the business has thought about building products for small business. It's an important and impactful thing. Building endurance, building that resistance, and really being able to protect yourself and your business for what may come.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thanks, Mashstartup.
Really appreciate it.
It's great being here. Yeah.